When I did a home visit of the Tatum family, I found out their daughter Samantha is an aspiring photographer. She has a specific interest in shooting animals. Bean. So today, I'll be teaching Bean how to play dress up with a lot of fun props to make it fun for Samantha. Come here, try this out. So the first thing I'll be starting out with is the ascot.
How's that look?
Also known as the hanker tie.
Very classic. All right, that was the easy part.
Next comes the sunglasses.
Watch.
I put it on the head and quickly take it off, follow it up with a treat. I repeat the process until eventually he's totally fine with them on his head and on his snout. From there, I can back up and tell him to stay, and now he's an official performing dog. So next I move on to the goggles.
Watch this.
With the goggles over his eyes, I let them sit there for 1-2 seconds before quickly taking them off and putting them back on his head. And I repeat that process over and over.
Keep it high.
3, 2, 1, good. The next prop I move on to is the hat. And just like the rest of the props, I extend time as the hat is on his head. So now he's comfortable with several props. From there, you can mix and match all the props you want and get a different look every time.
Perfect.
Good.
One more time, Brandon McMillan, everybody, come on. Congratulations, man, and welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Congrats on the book, on the show. You guys are 4 seasons in now, I think, right?
We're about to start season 5.
About to start season
next
5.
week.
Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I got to talk to you about that clip. Is that one of the weirdest things you've ever had to train a dog to do? Is wear goggles like that? Is that?
No, that's actually my background because I trained dogs for the movies for about 15 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
15
so
years.
we were used to doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
we did a lot of print ads where they wanted the dog to wear like a Chanel bag or like some funky little hat on their head.
Yeah.
And so there's actually a process to doing it because if you just try doing that to a dog, it's going to last for 2 seconds and they're going to shake it off.
Had my dog for 6 years. Every Halloween, we try to put something ridiculous on him. Invariably, we get one photo and it's gone. It's like, well, $50 well spent.
Yeah, yeah. People don't realize there's a full training process for something that looks so simple,
Yeah.
and then you try it and you're like, oh, no wonder there's dog trainers.
It's incredible. Are certain breeds predisposed to wearing clothes like that? Like, are some breeds
In New York, yeah.
Yeah. It's like way more into it. Just like way more. I'll put anything on. Yeah.
Well, put it this way: there are dogs that I wouldn't say breeds. I would definitely say dogs, personalities.
Gotcha.
That they do take clothing a lot better.
Yeah.
It all depends on the personality. That's why I say never take the breed, take the personality.
Gotcha. Which is sound advice, I would say. So you just said you're about to start season 5. That's incredible. I did some internet math. You do about between 24, 25 episodes a season, give or take, right?
26.
26.
Yeah,
I told you it's internet math. Can't trust anything on the internet.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you can't? Oh, no wonder.
But that factors out to a little over 100 dogs so far, just on this show, right? Because every episode's a single dog, right?
Exactly.
And I love that about it, too.
There was one episode last season.
Okay.
We had 2 dogs.
Okay.
Yeah. So I saved. It was technically they were siblings. They weren't blood siblings, but they were turned into the shelter together. And I didn't want to adopt one and leave the other because they were very bonded.
For sure.
So yeah.
Sure.
But no, I mean technically 1 dog per episode, and that's just what you see on the show.
Yeah.
Over the years, I've done thousands.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
In fact,
if you had to ballpark that number.
Oh God. You know what? I'll get back to you on that one. I stopped counting, you know.
Yeah.
You know, the reality is the show only films probably about maybe 20% of my real training life.
Wow.
Yeah, so
That's
you're only
incredible.
seeing a small little snippet of my life on that show.
And you're spending a lot of time with these dogs. I mean, that's like I was saying, what I love about the show is you really get invested in the story. You get to like know the dog and the personality, and you get to appreciate and see the amount of time it takes for this dog to go on this journey. I think patience is one of the biggest things I took away from reading this book, is that it takes time to achieve these things, but you can do it.
Yeah. Patience is typically where most people fail when it comes to training dogs. In fact, that's when you pick up a dog in the shelter and they're surrendered. 9 times out of 10, it was people, they got the dog as a puppy and they tried training it themselves. They ran out of patience quickly. And you know, the reality is a lot of people, they get puppies, they get them off impulse buys. You know, they see the cute little dog pressing its face against the glass and they buy the dog, but they don't realize that, you know, they're busy all day and puppies are a lot of work. And so patience is the #1 rule when it comes to training. Patience, trust, and technique, obviously.
For sure. And we're going to get into a little bit more of that because I do want to get into the book in a second. But before we leave the show here, is there a favorite 100 some odd dogs, all these different episodes? I'm not going to say favorite because I think that's a bad way to phrase it. But are there episodes that you go back to and rewatch to relive because you do lose count, you do forget, but you connect in such a special way with all of these dogs? So do you ever go back almost like a photo book, like a memory book, and just kind of, I remember Sandy and all these
Yeah,
different
I
dogs.
do. There was a golden retriever in season 2, and I trained him to be a service dog for a disabled veteran. He was hit by an IED.
Is that Sandy?
That's Sandy, yeah.
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 Amazing story.
I
Amazing
still
story.
can't
Yeah.
watch that episode without crying.
Yeah, I teared up too.
Yeah, because and to me, it's not that I'm watching it as an episode. I'm watching myself walk away because I remember myself walking away knowing that he's gone. You know what I'm saying? He's not gone. He's just gone out of my life. But I actually did see him about a month ago when I was in Philadelphia.
Really?
Yeah, I posted the video on my Facebook and Instagram. And this dog is very controlled now. And the handler, Tim Donnelly, he could not control this dog when it saw me. You know, this dog, it was just doing like the wiggle worm and
Yeah, the whole thing.
Because I saved his life, and I pretty much brought him back. Man, he was turned in. It was hard times for him, and so I had to rehabilitate him, train him, and I had him for a good 6-7 months.
Is there something when you're looking for a service animal, like certain traits that you're looking for that are different than if you're looking for an animal for any other house or any other home?
Yeah, absolutely. Service animals, if it's for physical assist, like I like doing, first things first, the dog has to be relatively calm and stable. If it's naturally high energy, if it's naturally like genetically like high energy, out of control. See, out of control is one thing, but super high energy.
Yeah.
You really can't train the energy out of a dog. You can do it naturally, but that energy is not going to just simply go away unless it's a long time down the road. See, case in point. So first thing you want the right personality when training a service dog. That right there is going to be half your work. If you can find the right personality, you've already fought half the battle.
Yeah, I could tell when you found Sandy there was sort of an interaction, and there was just like a calmness and a soothe. Even though this dog was under a state of like, I don't want to say duress, but like she's obviously stressed being in the shelter and all that sort of stuff. There was something that like you could tell like this dog is here and ready to connect with people and be this special kind of.
Yeah. Well, I believe when I adopted him, he was about 2.5 years old. He was part of a family. What happened was his mother, his owner, caretaker, died. The family turned him into the shelter.
Bummer.
And so this dog had lived on a couch its whole life, and next thing you know, it finds itself behind bars with time running out. And so, it's stressful enough. It's stressful enough, losing a family member, and then you're stuck behind bars right after that. I can't imagine. Like, listen, there's this kind of like saying that we say, in the shelter world, as sad as it is seeing a dog behind bars, I can't imagine how sad it must feel looking at us behind those bars.
From the other side,
Yeah.
for sure. Their whole world is upended, and it's all
Exactly, because we get to go home and go right back to our warm couches.
Yeah. Would you say the most difficult part is not the training, it's not the frustration, all that. It's bonding and then having to say goodbye to all these animals? Because I often joked with my wife, who like we would love to do this, but I was like, we can't. We'll just end up with a farm filled with like 500 dogs. You're never going to say goodbye to any of them. Like you can't give them away.
Welcome. That's how I started.
That's
It
how
all
is that how
started
the
with
ranch
one,
started?
and I'm like, I'm only going to get like 2 or 3, and next thing you know, I'm packed. The bonding, believe it or not, the bonding is the easy part because the bonding it's very organic. I don't have to push the bonding. All I do is I sit there for a few days, let the dog know that I'm not the last person who had him. So a lot of these dogs come from neglect or abusive background. And so dogs are just like humans.
Yeah.
Their minds think a lot like us, where they know a friend, they know a foe pretty quickly. So after 2 or 3 days, I can tell if you're one of the good guys or the bad guys. Dogs are the same way. So the bonding is actually the easy part. The training, that's where the difficulty lies because not all dogs love to be trained.
Yeah.
Especially
Right.
with considering the background they came from. And a lot of dogs are hand shy, they were yanked on the chain too hard. There's a lot of trainers out there, they rely on what I call the guillotine yank, and they put the choke chain on the dog. And instead of doing a little light correction, which should be in the wrist if they were taught correctly, they do what's called the guillotine yank. And that's literally, it collapses the trachea.
Oh my God.
And if you talk to any vet, especially if a dog suffered the guillotine yanks most of its life, the trachea most likely has collapsed by the time the dog is 6 or 7 years old. They just don't know it.
Wow.
Yeah.
How does that impact, like the lifespan of the dog? The quality of life of the dog. How do you not know that your dog has this crazy severe injury.
Well, I mean, a lot of dogs are so tough. They're so tough they don't even know. In fact, I have a dog right now. He's got a double dysplasia. Okay, this dog's got hip dysplasia in both legs. One is fully displaced, which means it's dislocated, and the femur is actually riding up into his spine. Yeah. Well, you most likely, there's a good chance you'll see him on this season of Lucky Dog, the upcoming season. Yeah, because I'm trying to get him on. So he's so young and so tough right now, he can actually run around. I noticed he had a really wobbly gait, you know, and he was favoring one leg. But the fact is, he's so strong, he's so young, he's so tough right now, he doesn't even realize that his leg is out of the socket and pressing on his spine.
Incredible.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, so the book, like I said earlier, I love the book, and I read it cover to cover, actually, because I have a dog, naturally. I can connect to a lot of parts, but there's a lot in there. There's a lot of great stories, a lot of stories of some of the dogs are on the show, some of the dogs that just you've impacted throughout your life. What inspired you at this point to write the book and put the book together and make this great little companion for all of us dog people and future dog people?
I wanted the book to me, it was a little bit of my life journey mixed with dog training techniques. What I didn't want to do is I didn't want to just write, you know, the Nerd 101 training book. Yeah. Because I wanted to actually give you a story of the reason why I'm recommending this technique. I wanted to give you a real life testimonial of dogs that I've worked with in the past, and so that's why the book is almost a little bit like, you know, a real life memoirs meets a dog training nerd 101 book. That's exactly what I wanted to do with it. And I give you variables, I give you options on try technique 1, try technique 2. If that doesn't work, technique 3 most likely will.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I do love about the book is that, and I was describing this to Brad and some of the guys earlier, that like, it's one, an entertaining read because you have all the background and stories too, but two, it's super informative. Like, and it's very clear and there's multiple options too. My guy's a jumper and I was talking to my lady about it and she was like, well, I'm sure he's gonna tell us to just turn away. I was like, he does, but then there's like 3 other things we can try with him.
Exactly, because not all techniques are gonna work on one dog. Because like I say in the very beginning of the book, I talk about variables. Variables are the word of the day when it comes to training. So when you're training a dog, there's so many variables with that dog. How old is it? What's the breed? Breed's very important because all breeds came from somewhere. Not all, you know, there's no such thing as a breed that just, you know, popped up as a fluke. They were bred before before we had technology, before we had anything to like help us ease, you know, an easier life, we had dogs, and hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. Now, although those jobs are obsolete in this day and age, the dog still remains. So you have, for example, you have a lot of these herding breeds. Well, they're not, you know, they live in the city. They're not herding cattle. There's no sheep around here, but instinctually, the dog is saying, I need to herd, I need to herd. And so that's why I always say variables are very important. Understanding your breed, understanding the origins of your breed, read about it, and it'll give you a world of knowledge. If people just understand that little bit of information about their specific breed, it'll make the training 10 times easier.
Is there any truth to some of the stigmas that certain breeds get? I know for a fact, I've got several friends with pit bulls that are the sweetest, most cuddliest animals in the world. I mean, pure muscle, and they'll knock you over. But it all comes from a place of love. Where do these negative stigmas come from about certain breeds? Is it just a matter of people confusing personality of a particular dog versus a breed of a dog, or what do you think about that?
Yeah, well, here's the interesting statistic. Statistically, pit bulls don't bite any more than just about a lot of breeds out there. Dalmatians are actually a very bitey breed themselves. How come we don't see news stories on them 24/7? Chihuahuas, I have a Chihuahua. They're very well known for biting, but of course they don't cause a lot of damage. So circumstance is one of the big reasons, you know, any breed bites. So, for example, let's just take the pit bull, because everyone's always afraid to go, you know, right down the road on this subject. Pit bulls are not the problem. You can't blame the dog. Let's say hypothetically I do have an aggressive pit bull. What made the pit bull aggressive? The pit bull didn't say, "Oh, I want to become aggressive." Yeah. So who do we blame? We got to take the breeder. The breeder was responsible for, you know, instilling the genetics into this dog. It created this dog. From there, the owners, the people that have this dog on the leash, now you're responsible, okay? Technically, I have a lot of dogs at my ranch that I would definitely deem aggressive. Yeah. And I know they're aggressive. So number one, I'm not gonna put them in a situation. I'm not gonna put them in a situation where I know it's gonna be a recipe for disaster. If I know I have an aggressive dog that's aggressive to other dogs, dog parks are out. And if I know I'm gonna walk that dog down the street and I see a dog ahead, timing is key. I talk about this in the book. I talk about it extensively in the aggression chapter. Timing is everything when it comes to an aggressive dog. So if you have a dog that's actually aggressive, and if you time it correctly with an effective no command, this is why obedience is so important. This is why I say the 7 common commands, it solves almost all your problems. So if you time that dog correctly with an effective no command, an effective heel, you don't have to worry about the aggression because you're one step ahead of him. But if you just let him, oh, okay, well, let me see what happens. Well, you know he's aggressive, so you're playing with fire here.
Yeah.
Why are you gonna play with fire when you know there's a good chance a fight could break out?
Yeah.
And so this is the problem. Decision making is very important when you have a dog that's questionable. And most people that have aggressive dogs, they don't use common sense.
Right.
All you have to do is use common sense and say, okay, fine. You have to accept the fact first that, you know, my dog is technically aggressive. Now I have to make rational decisions with that dog, because the reality is every time I see the media blast a headline saying pit bull attacks someone, I shake my head for 2 reasons. Number one, because they use the pit bull as a scapegoat. They're like, well, this is the bad dog. Yeah. But number two, I think to myself, I guarantee that owner, it was irresponsible. I guarantee that owner could have prevented it, but now that dog is probably going to get returned to the shelter, and guess what? Aggressive dogs are the first ones to get euthanized.
First ones to go. And it just also perpetuates this story that just isn't true. There's a lot of documentaries out there that are really upsetting and disheartening about certain entire towns that have like anti-pit bull policies and the way they round the dogs up. It's really upsetting stuff. And the fact of the matter is the facts are out there. The truth is easy to find. It's more the environment. It's more the way the dog is. It's all the stuff you just said as the expert. I'm just
but what about?
I'm very passionate about it as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, here's the other thing too. A lot of bites, they're reported as bites.
Yeah.
But when I see the damage, or I seen it in person, it wasn't really a bite.
Yeah.
It was like, for example, boxers tend to be like a very mouthy breed.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, a kid goes over to a friend's house, and it's a young boxer, a year-old. He starts mouthing on the kid. He's not being aggressive. He's too young. He's showing no ill intent. And next thing you know, the kid starts screaming. A little bit of marks here and there, because boxers have powerful jaws. Next thing you know, it's labeled as a bite.
Exactly.
So a lot of bites, believe it or not, they're reported as bites, but they're truly not bites.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're mouthy dogs, or it could be circumstance too. I mean, if you have a young kid that doesn't, listen to a word you say, and he goes up to the dog, yanks the ears, what do you think the dog's going to do?
The dog's going to respond negatively to that. Yeah, for sure.
If you yank my ears, I might punch you. I'm not an aggressive guy.
You have my word. Brent, I told you backstage I wasn't going to do that out here, and I swear I'm not going to do that to you, okay? I promised. I made
but that's what a lot of bites are reported as.
Yes. And, well, what I think is great about this book, and to tie it all back, is that if you have a dog, yes, there's training techniques in there as well. But even if you don't have a dog, it teaches you to be a responsible dog person. It teaches you how to understand these creatures that are so amazing and so important parts of our lives. The book is available now, correct? People can get it right now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
it's out
book's
there.
available right now.
There's a Barnes & Noble's right. You guys
right
want to
across.
hop up?
We're all going to go get the book afterwards. And then, of course, every Saturday, I believe, 7 a.m. on CBS, we can see Lucky Dog.
It's different times,
different times?
Yeah,
they
different
move it
cities.
around?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's on
different times,
CBS
different
Saturday mornings.
So CBS Saturday mornings, Lucky Dog. Or I noticed if you go to cbsdreamteam.com, you can watch a bunch of them. There's an archive up there to take a look at.
You can watch every episode.
Every single episode.
CBSDreamTeam.com will have every episode from season 1, episode 1.
Yeah. I binged
Back when I don't even want to watch those, I'm like, oh, I was terrible then.
You were great, man. Don't say that. All right, so look, we're not done yet. We're going to bring a buddy up here talking all about all the techniques in this book. I want to see if we can demonstrate some of them. We have some friends here. I'm sure you've heard them in the hallway. The first one looks like we're bringing up is Joey.
Oh, Joey.
Joey's
love
coming on
this
up.
boy.
What are we going to do with Joey here?
Okay, so it's going to be difficult for me to use the mic. And
Tell you what, I'll hold a mic for you while you talk. Yeah.
What I'm going to do, okay, so Joey's a jumper. Joey, what are you doing? He's got a big jumping problem. And so you notice if I kind of invite him like that, he's going to jump me. Now, there's a very simple technique to stop jumping. Joey, come here. Joey, Joey, Joey. All I do is this, and I actually kind of bait him up. Joey, 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 off. Good boy. Now, if you notice right here, all I'm going to do is step on the leash, hold it up here. Oh, sorry. I'm going to step on the leash, and I'm going to step on it right about maybe 6-8 inches from him, so he can actually get a little bit of a jump like that and say off. The second he starts jumping, it stops him in his track. I say the word off over and over, off. Now, after a few minutes of this, I can take it off, come here, off, good, off. Now, Joey technically has already been trained by me, but he's got bad habits that are really tough to solve. But what I'm trying to display to you all is this is a very simple technique that you all can do with your dogs if they're a jumper. So what I want you to do is simply take the leash and you step on it right around there so they can jump a little bit. They can get about 3 or 4 inches off the ground. Hold the leash right here. And you kind of bait him up. Joey, what are you doing? Off, off. There you go, off, good. He knows the game, and after a couple days of that, I can simply take the leash away, say the word off. Now he's conditioned. I say it time and again in the book, it's technique and conditioning. You have to teach the technique one day and condition them day after day. The technique should only take you about a day or two to really instill, hey.
Sorry. I didn't mean to encourage.
Now you have to do it.
Yeah.
The technique should only take you a day or two to truly train on them, but the conditioning, I mean, that could take weeks, months, if not years, because conditioning, technically, it's like we condition ourselves every single day of our lives. So technique should only, this is why I say train your dog in 7 days, because I can teach the techniques in 7 days, but the conditioning never ends.
Question, how frequently are you treating him, giving him the treat for the command, and how do you wean him off?
Well, you don't want to give him a command for the off.
Okay.
That's if you give him a command for the off command, you're technically, if you give him a treat, you're technically rewarding a bad behavior. Yeah, I see this
That's why mine jumps.
Well, I see this, okay, so I see this all the time in the city. Okay, in fact, I was just walking yesterday, Sidewalk Cafe in Uptown. Woman had a dog, as I was sitting there with a dog, and my dog's lying down, and her dog was just barking away, would not stop barking. And what was she doing to keep it quiet? She would give it a treat. Quiet, and give it a treat. Well, that's just pretty much teaching the dog, oh, cool, every time I bark, I get a treat.
I get a treat.
So she has literally trained this dog to bark on command every single time. And it's a young dog, too.
Oh, man. And the command is quiet.
The command is quiet.
That's what the dog...
And the dog understands. Every time he hears the word quiet, he barks even more because he knows a treat's coming next.
That's unfortunate, but it's kind of hilarious. And as an outsider who doesn't have to deal with that, I really enjoy that. I think that's a very funny story.
I see it all the time.
I feel for that person.
I see it all the time.
One of the other amazing techniques in the book that I was talking about long before you even got here is the double leash lockup.
Yeah, that's my staple technique.
Yeah, it's incredible, and it just never occurred to me. It's really a cool technique, and I was wondering, I think we're going to try to demonstrate that.
Yeah. We got some little. All right, let's hop
through how that
Joey
works.
off. Go to mommy.
Everybody say bye, Joey.
Okay, so
Thank you.
Here's what we're gonna do here. So if you hold this, I'll hold this. Let me be tricky with this. Okay, so hold him back for a second, and I'm gonna.
So we've got 2 dogs here. We have Bowie and we have Otis. Bowie and Otis are actually brothers. They were born in the same pack, but they have 2 different owners. And they love each other, and they haven't been able to stay apart, and it's been hard to get them to focus throughout the day.
Do me a favor.
Yeah.
Step on that.
Stepping.
Now, that is called the anchor leash.
Okay.
Right here, this is called the guide leash. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, if we had a treat, it might be easier, but it works without it.
Thank you.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, actually, I'm going to tighten this up a touch. He's going to slip his ear out. 1 second.
All right, so we're tightening up the leash.
All right.
And you can hear Otis crying because he can't wait to get back over here and play with Bowie.
Okay, so what I've done here is I've gotten the dog controlled. I say time and again in the book, control is the cornerstone to training. The place most people fall on their face when it comes to training is they're trying to train a dog that's completely out of control, and the leash solves this problem. But one leash sometimes, it's like holding a kite on a windy day.
Just flying around. Yeah.
Now what I've done here, I've got 2 leashes. That's called the anchor leash. This is the guide leash, called the double leash lock off. Now everything I teach the animal, I'm gonna teach. It's very simple technique. Anybody can do it. It's gentle. It's no stress on the dog, and I don't have to yank the dog away. Now I'm going to teach the dog the theory of control. So go ahead and bring Otis over here.
So we're going to bring Otis on around to the other side.
Yeah. And
Are we
all I'm going to
basically
do,
baiting him? Is that what we're going to do?
And all I'm going to do.
Up on stage?
Yep.
Bring him right on up.
Right about there. And what's his name again?
Bowie.
Bowie, that's right. Too many names. Otis and Bowie, come on. Are we music fans here?
Oh, that's it. Yeah, exactly. You just got it.
Just pick him up and put him on. Come on, buddy. And put him right around there. Now these 2, there you go. Hold them right there. Now these 2, backstage, they were nonstop, all right? Bowie, you notice, you gonna get him? Go ahead and bring him right here.
Bring him closer. Do you want to lock off Otis instead? Do you
Well, there you go. It's already working. Usually they're a lot more out of control than this. But sometimes, I'm telling you right now, I've seen this a lot of times where they just, they accept it right away.
Yeah, he's probably, yeah.
Here, go ahead and pull him back. I wish he was out of control because I could show you a lot more.
Yeah.
This is why this technique works so well.
Well, I think the beauty of this is even when it doesn't work out exactly as you want, they're still adorable. And
Yeah.
so it's a win-win.
I got a better idea. Let's get a treat out here.
Oh.
Do you have a treat?
Do we have treats?
I have them backstage. Okay.
Even a piece of beef jerky.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give it to him.
So we have a treat on the way.
All right. So let's take Otis out.
Otis.
Here, I'll just take this.
Cool.
And then I'm going to do something else here. Because I can still demonstrate this technique.
Cool.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. There we go.
So we're introducing
All right.
treats into the mix now.
Here we go. Bowie, what's this?
Oh, now you've got his attention.
That got your attention. All right, so let's go ahead and hop him off.
All right?
Let's just pick him up.
Yeah. He's made his
Yeah,
decision.
you can tell they don't
We're going to have to make it for. Okay.
Bowie,
Everybody say bye, Otis.
what's this? What's that? You want it? So all I'm going to do.
Should I keep
right
him
here-
locked down?
Yep.
All right.
All I'm going to do right here is I'm going to put the treats right here, tell him no, and simply give this leash a pull, no. When I see him stop resisting for it, I'm going to let it go. And then I'm going to simply say, okay. Now what this does, it teaches him very quickly, the more he tries to peck at the treats, the more he tries to fight for them, all I do is simply
Just
keep
a
him
little
away
tug.
from them.
Just a little tug.
Oh, do you don't like those?
Oh, did he find one? Now, would this
I don't
be a
think he
great
likes them. He spit it out.
provided they like the treats, is this a great way to teach like a leave it command?
This
or-
is a great way to teach almost any command. In the book, I pretty much say you can teach all 7 commands with this. If you actually execute this technique before and you teach the dog a little bit of control, you can probably cut about maybe 75% off your training.
Wow.
Yeah, this technique solves a lot of, because like I said, control is the key word when it comes to training. Without control, it's very difficult to train. And this teaches them the basic fundamentals of control. Once you have the control, now the dog is a lot more, it's a lot calmer. It's a lot easier to train. It's a lot more stable.
Yeah.
But trying to teach an out of control dog, especially one this age, they're always running all over the place. And you're just trying, come here, you're chasing them.
Yeah.
You're wasting your time at that point. Just do the double leash lock off, and like I said, it'd be a lot better if he had treats that that he
enjoyed.
liked, and
Awesome.
him and Otis. I think him and Otis they blew their gas tank
Yeah,
backstage.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, it's always a win-win. It's always a win-win because they're absolutely adorable.
You're just gonna stay there. He probably just chill there. We can go back here.
So we've got a few minutes left. This is awesome. So you, me, and Bowie are gonna hang out here. Good boy. And we got to take a couple of questions from the audience before we wrap things up and get out of here. So I see a microphone right in the front. Let's go ahead.
Hi, Brandon. First of
Hi.
all, happy early birthday.
No one was supposed to know.
Ha
Nobody was
ha.
supposed to know. I never post that on Facebook.
Well, it wasn't Facebook where I found it.
Where'd you find it? Who's telling this information?
Can't believe everything on the internet.
Oh, Wikipedia. I'm gonna call them up.
It didn't say how old you are. You're eternally youthful. My question is, my husband and I live in a building where we are not allowed to have dogs and cats. But of course, there are dogs up and down our street, as well as dogs that are in the building secretly.
Yeah.
What is the proper protocol for greeting a dog on the street and talking to the owner and engaging the dog?
That's a great question.
Well, proper protocol meaning you're not afraid of dogs, are you?
No, actually,
Okay.
as a child I was, but not anymore.
Well, I always say the very basic proper protocol, I teach this to young kids because I think it has to start with the youth. That way they can grow up, because I have too many stories that I hear every day of people that are afraid of dogs. So I say the first things first. If the dog is questionable, if you think the dog is remotely aggressive, don't even try to approach, because that dog now it's territory. And then once you enter that territory, all bets are off. But any dog, I try to tell kids, what you want to do is you want to stop about 5-6 feet short. You want to offer your hand out, not to the dog's face. You want to cut the difference. So if the dog is there and you're here, I want to stop and let the dog approach my hand. Now, if the dog approaches your hand, you can simply start underneath the chin. I never recommend going over the head. And the reason why I never recommend going over the head at first is because a lot of dogs, they were abused in their wherever they were in the past. And if they see a hand coming at them from a stranger, they could defend themselves. And again, this goes back to what I was saying before. Some bites, in fact, a large number of bites, they happen because circumstance. It wasn't the dog was aggressive, it was reacting because we might have a little history there that we don't know about. So If you have a treat, it's always the best way. But we all just don't carry dog treats. I mean, I do, but...
Yeah, you found one in your pocket while we were walking around. They didn't even know you had it.
Yeah, I know. And trust me, the dogs would have found it eventually.
Yeah.
In fact, all my clothes, when I take them off my house, all my clothes have holes in the pockets. I gotta buy like new jeans every other week.
It's pretty amazing. We have time for a couple of more questions. I think we have another microphone over here.
Hi.
Hi.
I was wondering what's the inspiration behind your foundation?
Argot service dogs. Yeah. I can give you the short story of the long. So the inspiration was, it was 2011. I was still training animals for the movies. A buddy of mine called me from South Carolina, and he says his friend was hit by an IED in Afghanistan, took off both of his legs, and he asked me, he says, can you train a service dog for this guy? I said, sure. I said, service dogs technically are what I've been doing in the movies all these years and for like Super Bowl commercials. You know, teach the dog to open the fridge, grab the Bud Light. And I said, yeah. So I took about 4 or 6 months to train the dog, delivered it to Walter Reed Medical Center in Maryland. I was expecting to just shake his hand and say, thank you for your service. And next thing you know, I was inundated by about 300 guys just like him. I spent 3 months there learning these guys and what they need and what they don't need. Flew back to California, quit the movie industry the next day. I stopped training movie dogs that day, and I started a foundation because I knew that my training for the movies, it's entertainment. I knew that there was people out there that actually, had a need. They needed a part of their life back, and I actually had the secrets to do that, and I could do it pretty effortlessly. So that is the real inspiration, because the bottom line is, and when I quit, I will give you all a little backstory of that. I was broke. I was actually, I got evicted from my apartment. I was pretty much living on friends' couches, but I was doing something I loved. And ironically, a TV show was offered to me because of what I was doing. They saw what I was doing, and they're like, we got to film this. And so it's funny how, I always say, man, there's that picture of the guy, digging in the tunnel. And it's something along the lines of, he gave up, but he only had 1 more inch to go because there was a big pot of gold on the other side,
Yeah. And
so never give up, especially when you do something you love, man. You'll never work a day in your life. No, I haven't worked in years.
it's pretty amazing. It's amazing what you've accomplished not working. We have time for one more question.
Hi.
I wanted to know, how do you know how to train dogs? Did you learn it over time? Did you come up with the techniques yourself?
I was born and raised in a family of animal trainers. My father was a trainer for the circus. I was raised in training animals for movies. So I learned from some of the top trainers in the world. And this is what I always tell aspiring trainers. The best way to learn how to train dogs is, A, train a lot of dogs, but first you have to learn from somebody. My mentors, I probably have about 10 to 15 mentors all around the world, and they all specialize in different styles of training. And every single time I learned something from them, I would put it in my own arsenal. And so technically I would take a little piece of the pie from all these great trainers until eventually I had my own style. To this day, I still, believe it or not, I still train under trainers. There's a lot of top master trainers out there. In fact, one of my mentors back in Los Angeles, he trains bomb dogs for the military. And I still actually train with them. Because I always say dog training is a lot like martial arts. I've never met a high-level black belt that still isn't training under the Grand Master, I mean, anybody knows the jiu-jitsu, you got the Gracie family. The Gracies, they trained under their great-grandfather until the day he died at 98 years old, And the whole family did. So you never stop learning, you never stop training. I still train under trainers, and I'll probably be doing that, until the day I die. And one day I'm gonna have students still training under me, when I'm old and gray. It's coming fast too. She knows my birthday.
I have to let you go, and I'm going to in a second, but I would be remiss if I didn't ask you to tell a story that I heard briefly backstage. And also, it gives kind of a sense of the scope of what you've worked on in your lifetime and what you've trained. Because I asked you if the hats and the goggles, if that was one of the weirder things, right? And you told me one of the first animal training gigs you had to do in Hollywood was for cockroaches. For a 9 Inch Nails video.
Yeah, the video was called Closer. It was
iconic.
Somewhere in the mid-90s. I was probably, a teenager. I brought Madagascar hissing cockroaches to the set, and the set was basically this kind of plexiglass high wall, and they had cameras above and all different angles. And the set was all lit up. It was bright light, and I had this kind of like this circle shape, and all I would do is hold a shade right here, because that would create a dark space.
Yeah.
And bugs, naturally, if they're trying to hide, they want to go to the dark space, especially cockroaches. And so the director would be like, okay, I want the cockroach to go from here to here. And so I would walk to the other side and put the shade there, and the cockroach would walk to that side. And by the way, Madagascar hissing cockroaches are the size of your hand.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
How did you arrive at that method? How could you possibly know to do that? Was that years of experience? Was this the first time you ever made a cockroach do that? I'm blown away by the whole thing.
It was, but the thing is, see, animals rely off instincts.
Gotcha.
See, what's not trainable, we always look at dogs as like, oh my God. I forgot he was here. We always look at dogs as like, these trainable animals. We look at sit and stay as like, oh, well, that's a trainable animal, when you don't realize that every animal we see in the world, whether it's a bird or a roach, a bug, they're all technically trainable because they rely off instinct. Instinct is what keeps them alive. Yeah. So in other words, technically, when I film with sharks, I mean, technically, those sharks are trained, because when we go to Guadalupe Island in Mexico to film with the great whites, we show up with the boat.
Yeah.
We don't have to drop any chum in the water. The sharks come right up to the boat. And why do they do that? Because they know the chum's coming. So technically, that's training. That's survival instincts training. So there's two kinds of training. There's instinctive training, and there's what we, there's like show training, this kind of pet training that we do. Instinctive training is survival. It's survival, and this is why animals, have survived for millions of years, because they've been trained. Why do you think the birds migrate? They're trained to fly south. Animals in Africa, you have the Great Migration, all the zebra, all the wildebeest, the gazelle. They migrate from Tanzania to Kenya, and they've been doing this for millions of years because they're trained to. They're trained to follow the rains, because when one grassland goes dry, guess what? They have to clear out of there and go find the rains, because the wetlands are going to produce the grass. And so instinctive training is survival training. Sit and stay, it's just obedience training that we have for big cities, because we want our dogs to be well-mannered.
Fair enough. Well, all of it is fascinating, and I really enjoyed talking to you about it. Unfortunately, I do got to wrap it up and let you go. The book available right now, right? We're all going to go buy a copy. Lucky Dog Lessons, and like I said, guys, great stories, a little bit of this, a little bit of everything, and great techniques. And then every Saturday morning on CBS, keep an eye out for Lucky Dog, or head over to cbsdreamteam.com and watch it right now. Everybody join me in thanking one more time Brandon McMillan for being here. Oh, man.
Thank you. Thank you.